Hello, good morning. John Caprani here from 10 Weeks to Freedom. Thanks very much once again for buying our training. And this is the mindset training as part of your 7-day fast start. So, typically you might expect a slide presentation, and typically I would deliver one. But what I find is that I have much better access to my subconscious mind while driving than any other time, and I want to record this on a unusually long trip. Typically I'm just commuting around my local area, but today I've got to drive 120 kilometers, so I have time to think and talk. I'm recording this in the car while driving, and I may decide to edit it later, or just to put the voice track against a slide presentation. But if you're watching this and you're seeing me, and you can see some evidence that the car is moving around me and the seat behind me, then yeah, this is where I am. So, why do we start with mindset? Why do so many online programs, I'm sure this isn't the first one you've ever bought, start with mindset? And I've got a view on this. People talk about, massive action and mindset, and of the two, I still believe that action is more important. If you have a shitty mindset, taking action will improve it. You can do all the mindset exercises in the world, or mindset training, or read all the books about mindset, but if you don't take action, still nothing will change and nothing will improve, and the things won't happen and the goals won't be achieved in your life. So when it comes to mindset versus action, I'm still very much more on the side of the importance of action, always. But you can be taking a lot of action, and if your mindset is shitty, some bad thoughts, and you're running the same old programs again in your head over and over, you tend to go around in circles, you tend to get not much achieved, you tend to not use your time that effectively, and you tend to do counterproductive shit that makes you your own worst enemy. Now, every one of us is our own worst enemy, of course, but to greater or lesser degrees. And I don't say this from a place of superiority or, I've made it, my mindset is perfect. I say this from a place of somebody who has struggled with a lot of negative, not subconscious, but sort of implicit beliefs that I wasn't explicitly aware of for years, due to things like culture and upbringing, and struggled with a lot of negative attitudes toward myself, low expectations of myself, lack of self-belief in my own potential, and I've allowed those things to hold me back at many points in my life, and things that I still struggle on and work against today, and I suspect that on some level I'll be working on for the rest of my life till the day I die. And that's not a bad thing, because there is no upper limit from what I can see to personal growth, to the things that people can push themselves to do outside of their comfort zone. And when people stop pushing themselves to grow, that's when they tend to fall into sort of despair, depression, hopelessness, or they just plod along and nothing changes. I think a broader fact about things in life, and it comes to do with business growth, personal growth, skills development, anything, is that nothing is ever static. People have this idea that you get to a certain level and then you just plateau and you cruise. I don't believe that's the way it is. It's, from what I've experienced with anything in life, even to do with things like eating, nutrition, weight, sports training, building muscle in the gym, learning languages, learning skills, unless you are working on getting better, you are by default getting worse. You are not staying steady. Just give some basic examples from my life. I used to be somebody I was really into skateboarding when I was younger, And I got to a level where I was never awesome at it, but I was pretty competent, and could do stuff like ride a mini ramp and have a damn good time and be solidly competent. Now I've tried picking up a skateboard again in recent years. That was about 15 years ago. I've tried picking up a skateboard again now and then in recent years, and I've gone back to the level of not quite a beginner, but certainly nowhere near as competent as I used to be. Now, could I get that confidence back? Yes. Do I have the time and the motivation to do it at this point in my life? Probably not. But my skill didn't stay static. Lack of practice meant that it degraded. And I think the same thing applies in pretty much every area of life I've ever found. Things to do with training. On weeks that I go to the gym 4 or 5 days, I can see the progression. I can see, even if I'm not training that hard, I can see at least I'm maintaining. But then on weeks where I let sort of work eat up too much time, or there's family commitments that I allow to come in the way, or I just don't get up early enough in the morning to get to the gym before I drop the kids to school, you can see within 3-4 days the differences in body composition, how they change, how you see how muscle starts to shrink, how body fat starts to increase. You can see it on scales in the morning. So all of this is a long-winded way to say that whatever you're focusing on in terms of growth, you have to be constantly at it. So with mindset, it's never going to be a thing that's fixed. It's never going to be a thing that's perfect. But wherever you're at right now in your journey, however you feel about yourself, however you feel about your own potential, just know that as long as you consistently continue to work on it and improve it, it will improve. You may not notice it day by day, but there'll be periods of reflection throughout the years where you look back on where you were 6 months ago and you should say, shit, I've come an awful long way. Or you're sitting down at Christmas and you think about how you were last Christmas, where you were in terms of your skills development, financially, your attitudes towards life, your understanding of your subject matter area of expertise as a freelancer, and realize that, damn, you know so much more. And it's not just the positive experiences that actually help you with that. I think the negative experience you have on the way are so much better for learning about what you need to watch out for, the red flags, the things that can go wrong, and how to avoid them. Because development, getting better, making more money, all of the things you want to do when you decide to embark on the journey as a freelancer, a lot of them don't come down to like these massive step change gains. A lot of them come down to small incremental gains over time, and that's mostly a function of consistently taking action every day, doing the same things. But where you lose out is these like negative experiences that set you back a long way, and they can be things like working with the wrong type of clients, being inconsistent in your application to the work, not keeping a regular schedule, not making time for exercise, not sleeping properly, not eating to support your health, not maintaining healthy relationships with friends and family or the people who matter to you in your life. All of these things, being influenced by the wrong sorts of people, being taught and learning from people who are not fit and skilled to teach. All of these things can have negative influences that set you back a long way, and then you're just being knocked back on the road and having to start taking steps forward at the same pace you previously were to catch up with yourself. So if you can avoid some of the sort of negatives, or at least when they happen to you, sort of say, aha, this is something that I need to watch out for in the future, and not repeatedly make the same mistakes again and again, you'll find that just the consistent action of moving forward and taking those daily steps will help you make massive progress in much faster time than you think. I think it was Bill Gates said it, and I'm not a huge fan of Billy Boy, but he was damn right about this. People overestimate how much progress they can make in 6 months and underestimate how much progress they can make in 10 years. And I got in this freelancing business tail end of 2018, just after November, and each day, each month, I've got things I want to do, places I want to get to, financially, career development wise, and I'm not there yet, and I'm always feeling like, why isn't it here yet? Why isn't it here yet? Why don't I have the things I want? But then when I take the time to breathe, be reflective, sort of focus on the positives, focus on the things, the good things that I do have and that have happened to me, and I look back and I think, damn it, I've come an awful long way from where I was. My mindset's come a long way from where it was, because at the time I got into this freelancing thing, I was pretty beaten down from my years of being an employee, and I carried a lot of sort of negative self-belief from my prior experiences working in other people's businesses into freelancing, and it really, really held me back in a lot of ways. And if there's one good outcome for this training, it's that it can help you to avoid some of these mistakes too. So coming back to sort of my experience of employment, I was a pretty effective employee, and I was somebody, every job I got into, I was always tasked with a lot of responsibility, because I was somebody who was prepared to shoulder responsibility, and I would eat it up with a big spoon. But unfortunately, I wasn't so good at negotiating my way into taking more of the value for what I did, and I also tended to let myself be sort of attract and work with, and find myself working with people who were kind of the type who wanted to shirk responsibility and find somebody else to dump it onto. And I had a little bit too much of the nice guy social programming of say yes and try to please people, and that crept up on me over years, until in my final job, which I left in 2018, I was working for somebody who was quite dynamic in some ways, had good intentions, tried to do well, but was extremely impulsive and irresponsible as well. And working with that person and for their company, I would end up having to be the responsible one who would sort of pick up the messes and try to cover up for their irresponsibility, and getting sort of dragged into their problems and their errors, and then having to sort of clean up after them. And I think Sam Ovens is the guy who says that people don't have business problems, they have personal problems they bring into their business, and that was very much the case here. So by the time I came to resigning from that job, I was overstressed. I was working 70 hours a week. I was taking responsibility for stuff I had no business being responsible for, and I just felt beaten down. I was like, who the hell, what use am I? What the hell can I offer? I haven't achieved anything, and I had to just get out. And I just actually didn't even give any notice. I did it in a really bad way. I just walked away. I just said, sorry, not doing this anymore, goodbye, and I left. And that wasn't very good. It wasn't very mature. It wasn't a very sensible thing to do. It wasn't a very good financial move either for me. It put me in a pretty negative position for a while. But I did it, and I survived. And that's probably another lesson, is shit that looks really bad at the time, you can usually survive it if you just keep moving. But at that point, my mindset really sucked. So I went out on my own, thought, okay, I got to get some clients, and I took this sort of idea from the world of employment that I had to impress people, I had to, convince them of my value, and that they were the prize for me to win, the opportunity to work for them. And over the last 3 years, I've come to a step change in thinking about that, where I realize that when I go to work with a client, I'm bringing valuable skill and insight to the table, and it's an exchange of value. And the value exchange is actually kind of weighted in my favor, because typically if a client wants somebody to work with them, a freelancer, or I call myself a consultant, and you might want to do the same and think of yourself that way. If a client or a business owner wants a consultant to work with them, they're looking for typically a skill set that they don't possess or they don't have on hand in their team that their business needs. So that is something that's quite valuable, and that has quite a lot of specificity to it. It's not something they're going to easily find. If it's not within their immediate environment, they're out looking for it. Now, what does the client give you in exchange for that? Well, the client gives you money, and while the money is very important to him, he needed it, and it's great to accumulate it, and blah blah blah. Money is a commodity in the sense that everyone's money looks the same, and everyone's money is the same when it goes into your bank account. You know, $1,000 in your bank account today, whether it's client A or client B gives it to you, doesn't really matter all that much when it comes to paying your bills. The money itself is indistinguishable, and once, if you've got money coming in from 3 clients into your account, all that money is mixing around. You can't say this dollar came from here, this dollar came from there too easy. It's just $1 and you're going to go and spend it on the things you need. So if you look at the value exchange then as a consultant from that perspective, you are giving something very unique and specific to the client, and they are giving you an undifferentiated commodity in return. So even if you're early days, it's a good way to think about this, that what the client has for you is not all that super valuable, and you can always get it anywhere else. But the unique skills you bring to the table, even if there's lots of other people with the same skill sets, nobody else will do it quite the way you do it. And also, if the client's looking for a consultant, they don't have the skill available. So even if your skill set is not that advanced, it's better than what the client's got available to them right now, which is usually nothing at all. And those 2 things to keep in mind are very, very important from the perspective of going into these situations with a good mindset. Now, I'm not going to get into prospecting or sales calls in this video. Those are trainings that will be coming to you, or that are available to you in your members area, or there'll be emails coming to you in the coming days reminding you to jump into them, but they're all there in the members area. So just want to focus more specific on the mindset. This is the mindset to have when approaching clients. In terms of your skills, feeling that you're not good enough yet, that's true. It's okay, but I mean, who cares? You know, you've made a start, you've got something to offer, and there's somebody out there who needs it. You may not be able to charge the kind of money you want to charge for it just yet, but if you keep on delivering that skill, you'll be able to progressively raise your rates over time, and you will get to the point where you're making what you want sooner than you think, as long as you're delivering value to the client and helping them get the result they want, which is typically something, if you're a digital freelancer, something to do with marketing or sales of their business that's helping them to bring more business in and sell more of whatever they have to offer. And I'm going to pause for a moment here. So, it's easier said than done to change one's mindset. And you may have heard what I've just said to you about how to think about yourself relative to the client and feel about, you know, the value exchange between you and them. And you may say, okay, great, but you know, when I'm stuck talking to somebody in a sales call or at a meeting or an event, I still feel like I want them to pick me. I still feel needy, I still feel less than. And it's not an easy thing to change. It takes time, and it really comes to do with you getting results and focusing primarily on getting better with your skills so you can deliver great results for people. And once you do that, your confidence naturally starts to improve. But from a mechanistic perspective of like, what can you do now to improve your mindset, there's quite a few things that are outside of business and work that tend to have a general broad-based effect on improving your mindset. The first thing and the most important thing I'll say is to sleep more. As ridiculous as it sounds, a lot of the time when you're feeling anxious, stressed, unhappy, you know, low emotional states, 9 times out of 10, just going and lying down and having a nap for 30 minutes will clear up about 60 to 70% of it. And I don't know if you track your sleep. I track my sleep. I have for the last few years. I sleep less than I want to, about 6 hours a night. I'd love to sleep 8, but I try to supplement that with midday siestas, naps. And yeah, if you are feeling bad about yourself or bad about your skills on a given day, I'm not saying go back to bed for the rest of the day, but there's no harm to sticking on a pair of headphones, putting some instrumental music on, or just sticking a mask on for 30 minutes and lying down and having a quick nap usually makes a huge amount of difference. Second thing is, and again it's going to sound stupid, but drink more water. It sounds ridiculous. A lot of like feeling bad, feeling shitty, like physiological and psychological mental states are very tightly connected. A lot of the time it's just low level dehydration that's making you feel shitty all the time, and it's really easy to fix. Just drink more water. If you don't like drinking still water, drink some sparkling water and buy like 12 packs of it from the supermarket. That's what I do. Just keep loads of it around the house all the time in every room, and it has a huge beneficial effect on your mood. Third one is lift weights. You may be somebody who does other kinds of sports and training already. You may be somebody who already lifts, and then you don't even need to hear this, you know about it. If you don't lift weights, go and buy 2 sets of adjustable dumbbells, like one pair of adjustable dumbbells with a, sort of like 20-pound dumbbells, or buy a small set with a few prefixed ones, and just use them a little bit. I'm not saying go become a gym rat, but I've been doing powerlifting training for the last 6 years now. I used to be really, really weak, and that thing of just lifting weights and feeling physically stronger has made me feel mentally stronger, and it's bled out into every area of my life. More confidence in my relationships, more confidence in business, more confidence in everything. If you make yourself feel strong in any area, it bleeds over into every other area. These things are not that compartmentalized inside the brain, and I don't claim to be a psychologist or someone who deeply understands how the brain works, but a lot of what we're running on as we're going around the world is not logic, is not reason. Those are our gifts that we can use to reshape our lives and remake the world in our image. But a lot of what we run on day to day is our feelings. And the most important feelings we have are not our feelings about others, but they're our feelings about ourselves, because they dictate what we believe our potential is, and what we believe our potential is dictates how dedicated we are to taking the actions that will help us to realize that potential. So any little thing that helps you feel stronger and be stronger, that will have a knock-on effect in your business, in your freelancing business, as well as other areas of life. Plus, just lifting weights just feels good, makes you look better, extends your life. There's just so many multiple benefits. So I'd really, really heartily encourage you to do that, even if it's just once a week or twice a week to start. If you start to do it, soon you'll start to like it, and you'll get a feel for it, and it'll become an everyday part of your life in no time at all. What else can we do to make ourselves feel stronger? For me, the fun things are getting a dog. I'm a parent, I'm married. You may not be, you may be. If you don't have that responsibility in your life, being somebody who's responsible for other people and showing up for those responsibilities builds confidence as well. It makes you realize, hey, I can do this, I can be responsible, I can be somebody that other people rely on, and do that to a high level of competence. Now, you may not want to go out and become a parent right away if you're not one yet, and I'm not encouraging that, but if you don't want to do that, getting a dog or a pet, something you have to look after, is a really great way to start feeling better about yourself and improve your mindset. And it's funny, like, even though I have 2 kids and I'm married and I'm responsible for a lot of things already, we recently got a dog this year. We hadn't had a dog for a couple of years, and I forgot how beneficial being a dog owner is to one's sense of self. Because it's another thing, yeah, you have to care for us, but it's like you have to teach it, you have to be responsible for us, and you can take pride in doing that. And it's something simple and great companion as well. If you're somebody who lives alone, it's a huge benefit to mental health and how you feel about yourself to have this companion animal that relies on you to take care of it, and that you can prove to yourself that you can be responsible and do a good job. Then self-care, personal grooming, all this kind of other stuff can be easy, and I've done this myself. I've slipped into habits of like being badly groomed, not bothering to shave, not bothering to wear smart clothes, when I've been freelancing, very easy to slip into because there's no expectations, societal expectations. You can just throw a shirt on for Zoom calls or not, and people don't really care. You're not in the room with them. They don't have to see you or shake hands with you. But if you make that effort to make yourself look your best, keep your hair combed and barbered or cut, I guess, if you're not a man, you're a woman, just keeping yourself smartly groomed, focusing on those things and dressed to the best of your ability and budget, it has a huge knock-on effect, again, in how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your confidence. That people talk about dressing for success, it's a cheesy cliche, but it has, even on Zoom, the days you wear a shirt to a meeting, just making that little effort makes the other person see that you've shown them respect and that you have self-respect, and it immediately engenders more confidence in them about you, and it will engender more confidence in yourself about yourself as well. I'm just hitting some heavy traffic here, so I'm going to pause again for a moment. So now we come to the more metaphysical or sort of woo-woo section of this training that goes beyond the practical. And there's a couple of things I want to talk about here. The first one is your feelings and how you feel about your feelings. I know that sounds silly, but I'll come back to it in a minute. Second one is writing stuff down. And the third is doing things like some books you can read and doing certain types of exercises, guided meditation or other things to help you kind of just step out from the day-to-day grind and access a little bit more of what's going on in your subconscious mind. So the first thing is writing stuff down, both goals and both kind of dumping out stuff that's rattling around in your head. So from the perspective of writing down goals, everybody talks about this, and it doesn't have to be some big complicated thing. What I like to do, I've got an A4 hardbound day book, the same size so you'd see at a reception desk in a lot of offices. And I do have digital devices, I'm recording them digital, but there's something qualitatively different about writing things down on paper that makes it feel more real, and also it's sort of sending a signal to your subconscious mind about giving yourself instructions. So I have a hardbound A4, which is letter size if you're in the United States, paper day book with a full sheet of paper for every day of the year. And on each day I write down my daily goals, 2-3 things I want to achieve that day, and I periodically write down bigger goals in that book as well about things I want to achieve this year or in the next couple of months or more broadly, in my lifetime. On the subject of goals, I think a great book about this, a very tiny short book, is by a guy called Phil Hellmuth, who is a world famous poker player and known for being a very hard-headed, hot-tempered guy. His book is called, I think, #Positivity. And it's really short, really simple. You can read it in about an hour, and it's just got a really good framework for setting out goals and writing them down to give yourself a better chance of achieving them. So that's the positive side. On the side of negative thoughts, negative feelings, writing that stuff down really helps too. It doesn't have to be every day, but if something's bothering you, just writing down a few notes about it somewhere helps you to kind of unload it and dump it out of your brain so you don't have to deal with it so much. But even before you do that, write those thoughts and feelings down, the negative thoughts and feelings, there's a mindset shift you can have about these. And it's something, there's a German lady named Monique Lindner, who I did some work with as a coach. She helped me with this. She just helped me to remind myself that when I'm having a bad day, a bad moment, a bad hour, and there's some negative self-talk, negative thoughts about myself going inside my head, that are negative feelings about myself, just to remind myself that my thoughts and feelings are not indicative of who I am, my character. Even the most saintly people have very negative, aggressive, sometimes vindictive or spiteful thoughts too. And the thoughts, we're not fully in control of them. They do rise up from our subconscious. I don't think we have thoughts. I think thoughts sort of have us. And when thoughts come up in the mind and they start to make us feel bad, it's good to sort of be able to take a breath and sort of be mindful and look at them and say, okay, is this thought true? Is it serving me? Is it helping me to be a better and more effective person? And does it, and then look at it from different angles and think, okay, does this thought change who I am? Do I have to act on it? And the thing about thoughts is that when you look at them, they are just momentary fluttering things inside the mind. A thought doesn't become real until you take action on it. Give an example. You may have somebody you're extremely angry with, and you may have had very violent, about some disagreement you've had in the past. You may have had very angry thoughts about them. You may have even thought about, hurting them or potentially even killing or murdering them because they made you so unhappy and angry. But at the same time, that's just a thought in your mind. When thinking about hurting somebody is not actually hurting them, and unless you take some action and physically go and hurt them, no damage has been done to them. So, and there's no arrestable offense, no crime has been committed. And that's the nature of a thought. It's just inside the mind. Unless you take action on it and do something about that thought, it doesn't have to be, it's not a part of your character. It's not representative of who you are. Now, if you do take action on a negative thought and do something, that has negative implications in your life, you do need to dig deeper into that. And, you may need to make amends for some negative actions with people. That's kind of beyond the scope of this conversation. Something I can talk with you about another time if you'd ever like to reach out to me. But in terms of just thoughts in your mind that cast you in a negative light or negative self-talk, those are just momentary states, and you can think about them, look at them and say, okay, is this helping me right now? And if not, let go. It doesn't matter. You can just let it go and move on to the next thing. It doesn't need to derail your minute. It doesn't really need to derail the hour, the morning, or the day. And for more on that, I would encourage you to look up that lady who I've worked with, Monique Linder. She's really, really good. Again, more even than just thinking about these things, getting them down on paper can really, really help you to improve mindset. Because once you write it down on paper, you can examine it and say, okay, is this true? Does it serve me? Do I need to think like this? And then you can scratch it out and say, this is discarded, I no longer need it. And if it comes back again, you can repeat the exercise until you're ready to let it go. I'm about to pause again, I'm just going to hit some traffic, just a moment. The other thing to write down is your wins, and you don't need just to write these down. What I like to do and what I've collected on my Google Drive is a folder full of all of the testimonials and thanks that people have sent me over the last few years for work I've done or ways that I've helped them. And I've got hundreds of different things in there now, a combination of screenshots, videos, snippets of emails, things that people have sent to me where they said I helped them with something. And it can be easy to forget all the good things you've done and focus very much on the negative. And what I find is when I can look at this stuff, it just reminds me actually, yeah, look, I can do valuable work, I have valuable skills, I can help people. So I really strongly encourage you to start to create that folder, that testimonial folder on your phone or your laptop or in your Google Drive, and start to put things into it whenever somebody tells you about good work you've done that helped them. Sorry, just coming traffic again. When it comes to career progression, skills progression, the temptation is always to look up to the people who are at the top and feel like you are very, very far below them and you've got such a long way to go. And that is true. The people who are the best of the best in any industry, it's not just that they're 10% better than the average. They're usually, several orders of magnitude better than the average person. But what's also true is that the people who are the best in anything tend to have a hell of a lot more time served experience than the average person as well, and have really put the hours in, even if they're young. I've got a friend, a guy in the US, who is 21 years old, is directing videos, working with some really high-level people in his career, and he makes, I think, around $50,000 a month. And people can't understand how, and older people are often jealous and envious, like, who is this young guy to tell me what to do? But what I know about this young guy is that he finished school at 16 or 17, and instead of going to university, he decided to start working 100 hours a week on becoming more skillful and developing his skill set to become more effective at being able to do sales and do video production. And now, even though he's only, I think, 22 years old, he's spent 5 years working 70, 80, 90 hours a week. So really like 10 years for the average person already of experience in his chosen profession. So he's like somebody he's like the average person at 30 to 31, but he's not like the average person. He's like that in terms of experience, but in terms of his dedication, he's 10x ahead of the average person. So he's got this astounding advanced skill set at a very young age that people can't believe almost. And it's not because he was born with some magical gift. He was just dedicated and focused and really put the effort in to get better. I just give that as an example of somebody who really you can come up a long way in a short time if you really focus on it. But then on the other side, even if you feel like, okay, I'm early days, I'm just beginning, my skills aren't up to much, if you look around, then you think about your clients, your typical client doesn't have the skill you have. There will be lots of other people you can look at and look to and say, oh, I actually do know more about this, or I'm competent, I'm capable at my field of expertise more than other people are, just by virtue of the fact that you've put the effort into learning about it, which most people won't, because it's a big world and we all have different skills and interests. It's so tempting to always look up at the top of the pyramid, but if you look down, you'll be very surprised that the space to the bottom is always bigger than the space between you and the top. And a great example of this I found years ago when I was in my 20s. A friend of mine shared this charity website. It's from the UK. It's called Giving What We Can is the name of the charity, and they have this calculator which you can Google it. It's called How Rich Am I? And I was not making much money at the time. I was, I think, making about 25,000 a year or something like that, and I thought I was broke. And so this thing lets you put in, where do you live, how much do you make, what are some of your living costs, and then it tells you and it plots your position relative to the rest of the world in terms of income. And I looked at this, and even though I was making what was a low wage by the standard society I was living in, if you took it, scale out and take a global perspective, I was still somewhere like in the top 8% of global earners. And that was a real massive perspective shift for me, when I realized, I'm just looking up at everyone who's got more success than me, but not looking down to see the fact that, I'm already in a very fortunate position. I've already, even some of it just through virtue of luck of the country I was born in, being able to achieve more than many people will be able to. And just always stepping back and taking that perspective of, okay, this is a long way for me to go, but, and my camera's narrow, so I can't see. Here's how far I've already come. And you'll usually find that how far you've already come from the bottom is always a lot more than how far you have to go to reach the top. And finally, we're coming up to about 40 minutes here. I want to talk about practical things you can do to help you sort of access the subconscious, improve the mindset, other than the stuff I've already mentioned, which is sleep more, exercise, drink more water as the main three, particularly lifting weights. I love to do guided meditations. Now, I've got a particular person I like to use, there's a British guy called Paul McKenna, who's a very well-known hypnotist and NLP practitioner, and his audio tapes and guided meditations are superb. I've been using them for about 15-16 years, and they've really helped me deal with a lot of challenges about mindset and self-talk. But and you can look them up, you can find them for free on YouTube, or you can buy some of them to download as MP3s on his website. His name is Paul McKenna, McKenna. But if you aren't interested in doing that kind of guided meditation, just something as simple as like getting the Brain.fm app, which I believe is free, or $5 a month if you want the premium version, and using that for 10 or 15 minutes, ideally every day, but I know every day can be a challenge, but just 2 or 3 times a week, just taking 15 minutes to sit down somewhere quiet where you won't be disturbed, stick your headphones on and just listen to some instrumental music without lyrics, and let yourself kind of go wherever your mind takes you. You do that for 15 minutes 3 times a week, you really are just tapping into your subconscious there and letting things come to the surface that maybe otherwise you wouldn't deal with. So yeah, those are my practical things. So a quick recap, which is client interactions. Remember that you have a valuable, differentiated and unique skill to share with them. What they will be giving you in return in terms of money is it's a commodity which you can find in many, many places. What you have to offer is unique and valuable, and try to keep that in mind when you're having those interactions. You don't want to be needy with them. You have just as much value to offer them, and often more than they have to offer you. From a practical perspective, lift weights, sleep more, drink more water, try to do some guided meditation, write down your thoughts, and practice the mindfulness of saying, okay, what's going on here? Is this serving me? And ideally keep a journal or a day book that will help you with that. Write down your goals as well. And finally, the last one, and this is a bit of a controversial one and something that some people might want to hear, is alcohol use. Now, I'm not going to get preachy. I drink alcohol from time to time. I'm 41 now. In my 20s, I definitely drank excessively, and then I stopped. And I drank moderately for a long time after that. And then in recent times, I've started to become like, I drink less and less, where I don't want to drink any alcohol at all. But it's funny, even if you're just having a couple of casual drinks now and then, you think that it has no effect. But I've always been surprised that every time, and that it won't make much of a difference if you stop, but every time I've taken a break from having alcohol, even for a short period, like even 7 days, a fortnight, or a month, I'm amazed by how dramatic a difference it makes in how you feel about your life and about yourself, and how much you end up sometimes it can not just positive, it can be really good. There can be negative aspects to it too. It can bring some negative thoughts and feelings to the surface that you've been hiding or refusing to deal with. I think the main problem with alcohol is that emotionally it's a crutch. When there's something stressful going on, or something in our mind or our thoughts that we don't want to deal with, having a little drink usually makes it disappear for a while. The problem is that it doesn't make it go away. It just kind of covers it up temporarily, and it always comes back. So if you've got a suspicion maybe that there's stuff that you're not dealing with, and you do like a drink, taking a little break for just even for a week or 2 weeks and saying, I'm not going to have a drink for 2 weeks, and just seeing what comes up can be really, really interesting and revealing, and bring a lot of good stuff to light. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I've got for you today. I've now hit the city. I'm coming into heavy traffic, and I may be finding the next 10 minutes stressful or so. So I'm going to stop this recording while I'm still in a good mood, and get into the rest of these fast start trainings. Welcome to reach out and book a call with me in Islam if you'd like some help directly working with us, or if you just have a question, you're welcome to send me an email or a DM on any of my social channels, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Have a great day, and talk to you soon. Thank you.